Hi. So I felt the need to make this video because I've been hearing how some drivers are throwing around numbers. You know, this one person, I was speaking with him and then he said he made uh, I think he said 70 or 60,000 a day. I was I was surprised. This is like, you are you working in Abuja or somewhere else? Where did you make 60,000? I said profit. He said, yeah, profit. I made 60,000. Okay, please. This video is necessary because we need to start dissecting this thing. It's very important to give your people the right information. Don't blow your numbers up. I don't know why or who you're trying to impress by doing that. Just tell them the reality of the whole damn thing, man. Okay? The other day, one other dude was like, he just he went on 3 trips and then he was able to make up to 25,000, and then he just closed his day. That was his profit for the day. No, that's not your profit for the day. That's your gross income. Your gross income is what you have before you subtract expenses. Now, the most viable and most predominant expense in this business is your fuel, your gas money, fuel. Okay? For instance, if you started your day by filling up your tank, let's say with 10,000 or 20,000, by the end of the day, let's say you made 30,000 with your 10,000 fuel that you started your day with. The 30,000 that you have is called a gross income. That's not your profit. That's gross income. Then when you've subtracted things like the fuel that you bought, and then maybe commission that you're supposed to pay, maybe you also fed sometime during the day. The remaining amount you have is what you call net income. Now that's your profit. Let me give you an instance. Say I fill up my tank with 20,000, and then I go to work, and then at the end of the day I have 50,000. Like, I'm counting 50,000 both on the ones I have in my account based on the transfers I got or the cash that people paid me. Everything I have is 50,000. That's my gross income. Now I have to subtract 20,000, the initial fuel money, and then possibly commission I have to pay to either Bolt or Uber. Whatever I'm left with is my income. Personally though, I only subtract the fuel money. I don't subtract commission. The reason being that as I'm working and then there's a need to pay commission, I simply just pay it right there and then. So I don't used to owe commission. All right, that's not to say that my commission debt is at zero. I think it's even 8,000 or something. It's very close to 10,000. So, but I just keep reducing it, whenever I feel the need. So I don't necessarily include it in my calculation, but very viably, the one I always include is the fuel. It's the main thing. If I start my day and then I started my day by filling up my tank with, let's say 20,000, for instance, okay? Let's say 20,000 worth of fuel. Now, after putting that fuel in there, by the end of the day, I have to subtract that fuel money so that tomorrow I can do the same thing. So that fuel money does not count as an income for me. So if I made 50,000 that day, if I subtract 20,000, that means my actual amount of the money I made for that day is 30,000. Please, this is how you should value the whole thing. Even if it's 5,000 fuel that you bought, and then you did your 3 trips, and then you got 25,000 or so, subtract the 5,000 first, and then what you are left with is what you then call, okay, this is what I made for today. Some dude was just throwing around that he made, I think he said 45, I can't quite remember, but it was a ridiculous amount. I was asking, are you sure you're working in Abuja? Did you go off station or something? I don't know, maybe somebody took you to Kaduna or something like that. So please, if at least for the benefit of the new drivers, if they're asking you like, okay, so how much do you make and all that, try and give them this valuation so they know what they're getting into. Don't just throw numbers around and tell them money there, money there, all this rubbish. Don't do that nonsense, man. I don't even know what benefit that serves. Now, in a previous video, I had made a video talking about how much on average a person who drives on Bolt and Uber could earn daily. And in that video, I said it was like 10,000 daily, right? Obviously, that valuation has changed now. The reason being that formerly, I used to work from morning, let's say from 10, 11, and then by 6, 5, I'm done. So you can imagine why 10,000 makes sense at the time. But right now, I don't do that anymore. Okay? If I work till the dead of the night. That's when I'm done. I always work beyond 12 hours. Of course, okay, I won't explain the other parts, but I always do work beyond 12 hours. So, that enables me to pull in way more than 10,000 in a day. And besides, with the new increment in the price, due to the subsidy and everything, in fact, getting 10,000 a day seems like a walk in the park. You could just, let me even give you a very typical, or rather a practical example that happened. I think it was on a Sunday. Yeah, it was on a Sunday. So the first trip I got was from, in fact, it brought in up to 5,500 or something like that. The second trip I got was 6,000. The third trip I got was 7,000. Man, I was just lucky that day, man. I was feeling myself. Damn. Anyway, so 5,000, 6,000, and 7,000. That's like 18,000 if I'm not mistaken. Already from 3 trips. Do you understand? And my fuel was still, I could still really go for the rest of the day. So, that is already on 3 trips, and then I'm calculating 18,000. All right. So that's because of the increment in the price that Bolt charges their customer, and due to the subsidy thing and everything like that. So right now, anybody who pulls in 10,000 in a day's work did not work long enough. Did not even work averagely long enough, not just long enough. That's what it means. Okay. So as it is right now, if you were to work from sometime in the morning, till let's say 11 or 12 in the night, I think 30,000 should be very easy for you. Yeah, for a day's work, 30,000 should be easy for you. 20 much easier. Yeah. I should say that though. Anybody who was earning 10 before should be able to earn 20 by the end of the day, or his or her day. Of course, not everybody can go working at night and all that. And besides, if you want to work at night, you need to really know the terrain and know where there are potholes or not, because your headlight may not do you justice sometimes. So you need to be careful when you work at night. Another thing also I want to throw in there is that whenever you want to start your work, please, it's always advisable to start with a good amount of fuel, almost like a full tank. Enough fuel, basically. If you start your day, let's say, with a half tank and you intend to just work, a very short time, okay, that's fine. But if you really mean to work, best put enough fuel inside your car and then get started. It's almost like a psychological thing wherein if you start your day with like not enough fuel, and then you go and then let's say towards the hours of 4, 6, your fuel is looking like it's almost finishing. you yourself, you might just feel like, it's okay, I'm even tired, so let me just go home. Tomorrow I'll come out again. You understand? It's a psychological thing, but if you have enough fuel, I feel like you could really, really go for a long time. Okay, you wouldn't be stopping because of fuel. You wouldn't be stopping. You would only stop because you're done. You will stop because you're tired and you're like ending the day. You understand? So, psychologically speaking, I think it will do you good if you always start your day with enough enormous fuel in your tank. Nothing to make you stop by the fuel station to fill up or anything like that. No. It also helps you to calculate these things. So let's say if I start my day by pumping, let's say 20,000 into my tank worth of fuel, that means by the end of the day, it's probably in reserve. It's not really that low, but at least it has hit reserve. And then so the next day I'll be able to pump in another 20,000 and start my day. You understand? So it will help you calculate what you're making, what you're pulling in a lot better. And lastly, I also want to inform you that taking out of station trips is stupid. Okay, it's not stupid, but just make sure you're making the most out of it. The instance I want to give you is okay, what I mean by out of station trip is, for instance, somebody say, come drive me to Kogi or to Kaduna or to Niger State, all of those. In fact, I even had one person who wanted me to drive them to Lagos, that they had a meeting so urgently, and this was before the subsidy though, and the amount came around 74, 72, something like that. So the person was like, look, I'll even give you 75K, I beg, let's just go to Lagos. I'm like, no, I can't go to Lagos. But the one time I actually went out of station, that was to Niger State. And when I checked the map, again, this was before the subsidy removal and the change in the price. When I checked the map, the amount to get to Niger State at the time was somewhere around 13,000, 12,000. Okay, depends on where in Niger State you're going to. So going there and then coming back, roughly around 20, 25, something like that. Now, I went and then I came back, but the truth is that, of course, the journey took like a whole day, right? I went there, I had to wait, and then when the customer was done, I brought them back. The journey took like a whole day, and by the time I was evaluating how much I made out of that trip, it was like 10,000, and it didn't feel right. It didn't feel right, It was a really long trip. Of course, I need enough fuel for that. You be on the express, you're firing your car and all that. I even once met this other dude who said he dropped off a person at Enugu. Now, Enugu is in the east. It's almost like 10 hours journey or so, right? Now, again, this was before subsidy, and he said he went there for around 20,000. It did not make sense. Now, the worst part of his own story was that he didn't even have to bring the person back, so he drove back empty. It didn't make sense to me, because I think he probably burnt almost all the money buying fuel. So if you're going to go out of station, if somebody is going to, want to book you to, let's travel together to some place and all that, make sure you calculate these things very properly. Most of the time, it tends to come off too much. So, I don't know. But personally, I think there is so much more you can make working within the Abuja terrain than going off station and trying to, in a day, you would make very good money. And so I would advise to stay within Abuja rather than going on a journey. So that's all I have for today. We'll talk again later. Bye-bye.